So as you guys know, I was up in Ohio. So do you guys remember this? Who remembers when I was up in Ohio? Put a 1 in the chat if you were on Team DLZ when I was up in Ohio, when I went to Columbus, Ironton, Youngstown. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys remember when I went up there. When I was up in Ironton, Ohio, I actually left Ironton, and I had been told, I had a source that said, David Yost will be up in Columbus. Go up to Columbus to this building, and he's going to be there. And so I was like, I was just going to go up there to Columbus and just try to catch him and be like, hey, can we talk? Can I just show you the evidence I have for the murder of James Sheets? And so I went up to Columbus to go get some help from the Ohio Attorney General. You guys remember that? You guys remember that? Put a 1 in the chat if you remember that. But when I was up in Ohio, I was trying to get this guy because I thought if I sat down with him and I showed him the real information on Jonathan Spuljarek, the rapist in Ironton, Ohio, that I cannot share with anybody, but I have real information to take that guy down. And I thought with the information that I had on Jonathan Spuljarek kicking down Kent Freeman's door, tasing him and holding the taser on him as he's like, where's the gun? But the gun was sitting right in front of him. He was just torturing the guy. Those things, I thought that David Yost, the Ohio State Attorney General, who started the super cops in Ohio, BCI, Bureau of Criminal Investigations, the BCI unit, put a 1 in the chat if BCI are just cops investigating cops, especially in Ohio. Ohio is one of the worst police states in America. Which is the worst? You guys tell me, which is the worst police state in America? Just vote with your state. Put it in the comment. Which is the biggest police state, prison state, death state in America? Just put the name of the state. Just pick one so I can read off the comments. What is it? If I was going to vote on just one, Ohio. Ohio's the worst one. As far as my personal knowledge, because it didn't matter if I went to Northern Ohio, Southern Ohio, Eastern Ohio, Western Ohio, everywhere I went, people were literally calling me saying, you're in Ohio? Please come to Circle, Ohio. Please come to this place, Ohio. Please come to this, Ohio. Please come to this, Ohio. Florida, they're saying. Ohio, someone said. Indiana. Ohio, a lot of Ohio's. Holy smokes. A lot of people. Arizona, way up there. Way up there. Washington or Oregon, Ethric. Yep. New York. New York has the biggest gang with NYPD. The only way we're going to get rid of that gang is by defunding them. You will not get rid of that gang in New York unless you take away the money. You won't get rid of it. Oklahoma, Oregon, Wisconsin, worst police state. Take a vote. Take a vote. Where is the worst police state in America? In New York? Wow. What is the worst police state in America right now? Drop the name of the state, just one state. Pick it right now in the comments. Tell me what is the worst police state in America. They violate more rights than anybody else. They arrest more people wrongly. They target you when you drive around constantly. You can't leave your house after midnight in any town because, well, then you could be drunk driving and they got to get you there. And then you're going to get a fake DUI charge like News Now Ninja was saying he just got. Pennsylvania, people are still saying Pennsylvania, California, Tennessee, Michigan. Ozza said Michigan. Evansville, Indiana. I've heard about Indiana a few times now. Ohio. So I saw David Yost give an interview the other day. And I thought, this is the guy who I was going to call to get help. Okay. So now you want to see a cop extraordinaire. This jackboot thug pig, this guy has got on, if you look real close, everybody look real close at the screen. Let me get a picture of his face better. If you look real close, in the corner of his mouth over here is the residue from him pig sucking. In the corner of his mouth, you see it right there? That right there? He's a pig sucker. That guy's the most disgusting guy ever. Wait till you hear what he has to say. You wonder if he's a cop sucker? Just listen.
I have to ask you about the incident that happened in Circleville. When you watched the video,
Circleville is where the guy released the canine and they said, don't release the dog, don't release the dog. And then they released the dog and it attacked the guy who was surrendering.
what was your first thought?
Oh, it's horrifying. that officer did not act, at least according to the video record, the way he was trained or according to protocol.
Yeah, but so hey, David Yost, can I chime in for you here, brother? The training and the protocol that you jackboot thug pigs adhere to is inhumane and disgusting. So right away, bzz, fail. I don't give a damn about what their training and their protocols are. The training is disgusting and the protocols are inhumane. So David Yost, you lose me right away. Right away. All the training and protocols need to change.
First of all, I don't think the dog should have even been out of the car.
You don't think the dog should have been out of the car, David? And David's going to get it in a minute, but there shouldn't be canine dogs going after people in America. In the most extreme situation where you have kidnapped children and you have the kids with you, that's not what's happening. You're getting a sick, sadistic, jackboot thug canine pig who's training his dog by abusing the dogs to be vicious and mean. And every cop knows, if you're a cop or an ex-cop, you can chime in on the chat. You know that they cannot control these dogs because of how they treat them. They can't get the dog once it gets the taste for blood in its mouth. Once the dog gets on someone, there's not like a release and then the dog just releases and sits down. No. A dog is a spiritual animal with a lot of love and a lot of passion. When you jackboot thug pigs abuse these dogs to make them mean, once the dog starts biting someone, you can't get it to let go. Listen, I'll try not to interrupt, but almost every line he says is dog poo.
At that point, if the dog was out of the car, it should have been on a lead. But of course, the dog should not have been set loose. So this is very troubling.
Very troubling?
Is it concerning to you that the Ohio State Highway Patrol troopers were telling the Circleville police officer, do not deploy the dog, and yet after those instructions, he continued to let the dog loose?
Yeah, so the investigation is still ongoing. So we
Oh my God, shut the front door. The investigation is still ongoing. We saw the video, bruh. We saw the cop walk up, go running across. Get him! He didn't have two hands. The guy was doing this. Like, you can't walk up and say, can you just put your hands in front of you real quick here and put a strap on him? And that's it. The investigation is still ongoing. He is a cop sucker extraordinaire.
We should make sure that we know what all the facts are. But as I say, the video is troubling. Look, the Highway Patrol had jurisdiction over the scene. They had stopped the defendant. Defendant was not resisting at that point. They were in charge of the scene. For another officer from another agency to come up and act independently is not the way we do things. And I'm just scratching my head about what he was thinking.
What are you talking about, bro? You so-called trained pigs, then you allow them to stop people they're just suspicious of. It's all over the country. Everywhere you go, there's pigs out of order, out of line. Why do you think this channel's growing at 75,000 subscribers a month? Why do you think that is? Because I actually say it. I say it. You endorsing this is the whole reason I hate Republicans and Democrats. They both do. Both of them are on the side of the cops, and they're not on your side. The video is, the video is troubling. And it's not, he didn't follow his protocols. And this isn't what we train our officers to do. Like,
do you agree with Circleville Police Department's decision to fire the officer?
Well, without having seen the results of the full investigations.
Did you hear that right there? The video of the cop running across to a guy like this and saying, get him. That guy doesn't belong being a cop. The guy had his hands up surrendering. All you have to say is, Can you put your hands in front of you and cross them? Okay. You got 10 guys around that got guns pointed at them. It's supposed to be a little dangerous dealing with criminals if you're dealing with criminals, but they're not. The guy wasn't a criminal. He just didn't want to stop in the middle of nowhere. He's black and in a semi truck, and the cops daily rape the truck drivers in our country. They daily, and I'm not talking about physically, they rape them. They steal their money out of their wallet every day. The cops in America, they go after the truckers in a big way here in our country. It's insane. And this pig sucker couldn't say, I saw a video and yeah, that cop should be fired. He can't say that. He needs to make sure the investigation is done first.
Certainly the video records would support their decision.
There's been a lot of questions from...
I mean, look at this guy's mannerisms. I mean, I've said to you guys, I'm running for governor. Do you want some weak-ass limp dick like this as your governor? Do you want this guy? I mean, do you really want that guy? I mean, that's... You pull down his pants and he's got a cleft a-hole. What's this little weak-ass? I mean, what's wrong with this guy? It's also manicured. Look, if you guys want, you know, I can talk to you just like this. We can have real meaningful conversations, as you can see that I'm not real at all. I'm just a facade. But I don't want to say anything that would be controversial, that would make you not like me. I don't want to say anything out of order. Just talk like this. Just stick my lips out a little bit and talk like this. You know, maybe do a little, oh, it was a disturbing video for sure. Like, what an elitist. What a scumbag. Like, just watching this guy, I want to reach the screen and just give him a noogie.
Members of the public who don't understand the training that goes into questions.
Listen to what the state-run media reporter does. Listen to what the state-run media says.
Video records would support their decision.
There's been a lot of questions from members of the public who don't understand the training that goes into both the canine and the handler.
There's been a lot of members of the public who don't understand the training that goes into the canine pig or the canine. Put a 1 in the chat if you understand exactly what the training is. Put a 1 in the chat if you understand exactly what canine pigs in our country do. They are terrorists. They can't wait to watch their dog bite somebody. They cannot wait to watch their dog bite somebody.
Can you explain the uniform training or the different policies that the department may have?
So if you want to be a canine officer, you have to be trained and certified with your partner, with your canine partner. You don't just sign up and go out and do this.
Let me assure you, if you want to be a canine officer, you have to sign up and be certified with your partner, your canine dog. Bro, we have seen what the canine dogs do to people in the United States of America, and they have since slavery. The entire movement of the dog was to torture black people with dogs. That's a fact. You guys can look it up. How did that happen? With the Germans. So let me go back a few steps for you. So there's an important historical aspect to understanding when you go back to 1776, everybody knows what was happening in 1776. We were in a war with England for independence. So what happened during that year, 1775, 1776? When we went to war with England, we didn't just go to war with England. Who came with England? Anybody know the answer? That's right. German Shepherds with what are called Haitians. Haitians are known as mercenaries, mercs, people, or back then, just so you know, the Germans were told you will go and help them fight England because England was the biggest, baddest mofo on the block. And Germany was going to back up England. And who was the, I'm going into world history here, but the leader of Germany likely told those men, the Hessians, that they would come here. Now, of course, when they came to the New World, a lot of the Hessians who came over from Germany after the war was over, they stayed and they became Americans. So what are the Germans known for? The dogs. Are you starting to put it together? Are you starting to put it together? Because I'm giving you like real history here. As a matter of fact, if you go back, the Hessians, the Germans who came over to fight with England, they were the reason why the war lasted for so long, because there were several times where George Washington, in the Battle of Long Island and in the Battle of Chad's Creek, it's called in the Battle of Chad's Walkway. What is it? What is that? It's a pebble path that you can walk across. It looks like it's a river. What's it called? Chad's Way. I'm sorry, I'm going into real long history here, but back then, the Hessians who came over with England, they were really good at war, and I believe they were under the command of General Howe, who came over from England to take on George Washington. And then when they went to battle with Washington, the Hessians wanted to wipe out Washington, and they could have, but Howe said no. Howe said, no, let him go. We don't want to put our men in a precarious position. Also, we don't want to wipe out every single Englishman we have here, because these are actually our English brothers and sisters here. They're just having an uprising with this very small, select group of men. Once we shut these guys down, then we're going to be able to win back over the hearts and minds of the country. That was what the thought was. But they didn't know about an ace in the hole, a guy named Thomas Paine, who would write the pamphlet called Common Sense. And that pamphlet would be the driving force to energize the people to continue to fight England. Sorry for that little walk off into history, but I am a constitutional law scholar. Like, this is what I've studied in amazing depth for years.
Training is the same across the state. We have a uniform standard, and it's very explicit. So let me tell you, one of the things that's important here, in order to get certified to be a canine officer, you have to be able to demonstrate that you can bring your dog from an attack to standing down with nothing but a verbal command. You don't go wade in and try to pull the dog off or have to rely on a leash. The dog must respond to your verbal command. And if you don't, neither you nor the dog gets certified. So that was one of the things that was especially concerning about what I saw on the camera.
So put a 1 in the chat if that's a lie. Put a 1 in the chat if he's sitting there lying. He's just sitting there lying. Once the dog so when you have the dog trainer, the canine pig, and the dog, and they're in this isolated little test, that's one thing. And then when you put the dog on scene with a bunch of other alpha men, well, a bunch of aggressive men, not alpha men, but you get the dog on scene with a bunch of aggressive men, they get hyped up, and there's, get on your knees, show me your hands. The dog gets hyped up too, and they can't get the dog off people. They can't get the dog off.
Aside from the fact that the dog shouldn't have been even out of the car, the fact that after the attack happened, the officer was apparently unwilling, not really sure, but did not command that dog to stop the attack. That's not the way this is supposed to work.
Do you believe it was a policy or training issue that happened here?
This is not a training issue. The officer simply didn't follow his training. He exhibited poor judgment, bad decision making.
How does the Circleville Police Department, if you were to advise them as the top law enforcement official in the state, how do you advise them moving forward to regain the public's trust after an incident like this?
Well, I don't think that we even have all the facts yet. So the road back to trust is to act in a trustworthy manner. I'll be candid with you, and this is just one person's opinion.
Or you'll be candid?
I'm not sure after an event like this that they ought to continue to have a canine unit. There ought to be a gap, and then retraining and recertification.
There ought to be a gap.
What can BCI, what can OPATA do to work with this department to make sure that everyone is properly trained and follows that training?
Well, remember, it's not everyone. It's one officer, one dog,
Oh.
they form a unit, and they have to work.
Wow. Let's listen to it one more time, just so you can hear the BS.
BCI, what can OPATA do to work with this department to make sure that everyone is properly trained and follows that training?
She says, what can we do, BCI, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, to work with this department to make sure they're following procedures and they're trained properly? So in other words, she actually, even a state-run media person, realizes that the police are out of control across the entire department. But look what David Yost does.
Well, remember, it's not everyone.
It's not all the cops. There wasn't a bunch of other cops on scene who didn't tell the guy, grab the dog. It was only one cop, because he knew the cameras were running and he knew they were going to get killed over it publicly.
It's one officer, one dog, and they form a unit, and they have to work together, be trained together, certified together. If they're going to have a canine function, our office obviously sets the standards, and we're there to assist them. But ultimately, training, retraining, recertification, all of these things are going to have to happen.
Are you aware of anything in the officer's personnel file and his OPATA records or anything like that that stands out that concerns you?
I haven't seen the officer's personnel file.
Anything else about that incident that you want to respond to or add?
I just want to reiterate something. This is not a training issue. The officer did not follow his training.
What a load of crap. What a load of crap. The only reason you guys are screwed, you pigs, is because we're seeing it on camera. That is your training. You brought that dog out there, and that's what you've been doing for decades, bro. But now it's getting caught on camera, and people get disgusted with it. Lay on your belly. What the fluck is that? What the frick? Lay on your belly? What are you talking about? You lay on your belly. And that's just one tiny little example of what you and I hate. Put a 1 in the chat if you hate it. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. Turn around and put your hands behind your back so I can lock you away. Wait a minute. I'm past 40 years old here, coming up on 50 soon. And you need to lock my arms behind my back? Why do my arms need to be locked behind my back? For officer safety, for their safety. Maybe if you weren't arresting me for nothing, you wouldn't worry that I'm going to freak out and attack you. Maybe if you weren't dragging me off to a dungeon where you and I both know it's a dungeon. Anybody been to jail? Put a 1 in the chat if you know it's a dungeon. An absolute dungeon. Why do you got to shackle my arms behind my back, bro? It's a fair question, right? I don't. You got a computer, right? You looked up my rap record. You looked up my ID. Any assault charges on there? Any battery charges on there? Any charges on there that would lead to that I'm a violent person? No? Okay. Then maybe I can sit in the front seat if you have to take me away to somewhere, and maybe that doesn't have to happen either. But he just doesn't get it. And this is what I was talking about yesterday before I went off on Trump or Biden, whichever one you were offended by. But they're the same as what I'm saying. Now, Trump was a little different, but he failed. He failed. The economy was roaring before they shut it down for the pandemic. That's where Carl was right. I appreciate you telling me that, Carl.
He acted contrary to his training. And look,
I'm just going to say the facts. If I'm incorrect about some things, I'm incorrect. I'm not walking back that I'm not going to vote for Trump. I'm not going to vote for Trump. But he did do some things that no other politician had done. Like, for example, having energy independence in America is a very big thing. And when he was doing it, I was like, wait a minute, maybe he's not so terrible. But anyway.
organization that has human beings is going to have people that don't follow their training, whether you're talking about a cashier at Target or a scientist in a laboratory.
The difference, Mr. Yost, is that the cashier at Target or the scientist doesn't sick a trained canine dog on my body as I'm surrendering. That's the difference. The difference isn't that your cops aren't following your training. They are following the training. It's that the training is to target us by hiding, pull us over, create some sham investigation, check people for their levels for DUI when they're not drunk, and then arrest them, kidnap them from the street, shackle them up like a pig going to slaughter, steal their car and impound it, and then charge them with multiple crimes as you charge them to get out of the dungeon and you charge them to get their car back. Those are the policies and practices of the training in police departments in America. And since we're a pure capitalistic system, their job is to make money. So if you have any money over $1,000 or $2,000, that could be criminal asset forfeiture. No charges. We're just going to take your money until you can prove where your money came from. And that's their training. Mr. Yost, am I wrong? Anybody, let me know if I'm wrong. Was any of that incorrect? I think every single word I just said was correct. That's what they're trained to do. That's their training. And then officer safety first over you.
Humans end up making errors in judgment.
No. But when humans make errors in judgment, it doesn't ruin multiple people's lives as you guys defend the person who is the jackboot thug pig, JBTP. Put it in the chat. Jackboot thug pig, JBTP.
This was a tragic and horrific one.
Then why don't you get rid of the few bad apples? Because if you got rid of the few bad apples, then we would see that your policies and procedures are fair and that you guys are doing it right. It's just a few bad apples. Well, why don't you get rid of them then? Okay. You see the loop? You just can't. They're just cooked. And why are they cooked? Because of the camera, because we're seeing it. They're cooked. We know he's lying. We know what their training is to target you and arrest you.
Do you mind if I move on and ask you about a couple other topics?
Yeah, that's fine. Actually, I should say one other thing.
Now, listen to this. When he goes off script for a moment, listen to this.
Because so I don't think anybody can look at that video.
Let me throw in something so I can get the black vote.
At least that's of a certain age, and not think about Bull Connor setting the dogs loose in Selma against the peaceful demonstrators. The canine units are an incredibly valuable law enforcement tool.
No. Canine units are not supposed to be law enforcing on us. They're to find people in the woods. But that's not how canine units are being used, Mr. Yost. Canine units are being used to attack us every day, to maul us, to bite us. As the cops hold us down, and if you try to push the dog off you and fight the dog from biting you, you're charged with attacking a police officer. The canine dog now has more value than you. And you guys know I'm an avid dog lover. I would sacrifice 1,000 dogs for any one person in this chat right now. If they said that Rights On has to go or we got to slaughter 1,000 dogs, that's heartbreaking. Where are the dogs getting put down at? Because Rights On is the most important thing in that equation. If you have to put down 1,000 dogs to save Rights On, you need my help? I don't want to do it. A human life is worth more than a dog's life. 1,000 times more. You can go more than that, but I'm sounding sadistic now. So I love my dog. Charlie, come here, baby. But
when they're used like this,
that's how they're used every day. What are you talking about?
Horrifying.
Dude, you jackboot thug pig.